Hi everybody, this is Michael with California, and today I just want to do a quick update for the new PPP loan funding round that has come out and will be available next week. And we want to talk a little bit about why maybe applying with the bank that you already have a current relationship with, one of those larger banks, may not be the best way to get your PPP loan funded. So today we got an email from the SBA, the Small Business Administration, saying that they are going to get new funds for a second round of the PPP loan, the Paycheck Protection Program loan. And that's the program for small business owners who need a little extra help to pay for their employees and overhead and that kind of stuff included in there. The last one was a lot, but this one is going to be about the same. And what the SBA is saying is that they are planning to renew they're beginning the application process starting Monday. So SBA will resume accepting PPP loan applications on Monday, April 27th at 10:30 Eastern Time from approved lenders on behalf of eligible borrowers. So this is good news overall, but for a lot of folks, it may not actually be the news they think it is. And the reason being is that what the SBA is saying here is that they are getting notifications, they are giving notification that they are accepting loan applications from banks, right? So they're not saying that the SBA doesn't accept PPP loans from individuals, but they accept them from banks. And a lot of banks, especially those bigger banks like the Chases and the Bank of Americas and those kinds of banks, they already have a huge backlog, millions of people who applied in the first round of PPP, but hadn't really got their loans approved yet. Now they've gone through the whole process, those folks have submitted everything, but they've just been waiting for the SBA to have enough money really to send the money back. So the SBA is saying they got the money and they're willing to start looking at those applications and start sending out money starting next week. Now, it's important to understand that there is a kind of four-stage process, at least with Chase. And we got this email from Chase today, but overall it's probably the same regardless of which company or which bank you're working with, in which that there's 4 stages. So the first stage is you submit the application. Second stage is you already submit all your payroll and everything to verify that the amount that you're requesting is the right amount. And the third is that the bank scrubs everything, make sure everything's in order, and then they submit that application to the SBA to get the funds into their account so they can give it out to the small business. And when we look at Chase, for example, they, like I said, probably have millions and millions and millions of people who already applied and didn't get their approved. And so those are all those folks waiting in this stage 3 section. Also today, we got an email from Chase indicating that as soon as the SBA gives out the green light, they'll begin submitting applications that are already in the queue. So as soon as they'll get that money, the Chase Bank says that they're going to already start accepting and processing and finishing those applications that are already in the queue. So that's all those folks who are waiting in line and have been waiting in line since the last PPP program went through. But another note that they put is that they'll begin submitting the applications from our queue, starting with the many small business owners in stage 3. So remember, 1, 2, 3, 4, those people who already have everything done, they've already waited, they've already submitted everything, they just haven't got the money yet. Chase is going to submit those stage 3 people first. And really what they're saying here, what this means is that because they have so many people in that backlog, they're not really sure if they're even going to be able to accept any new people. The reason being is because all that money that's being distributed, it may be gone by the time they even finish or don't even finish that queue of people who have already gone through the process and are just waiting. So at this point, looking at the SBA or the PPP application website on Chase, they're not even accepting applications. So they're telling folks, hey, reach back out to us later after we get a better idea of how much money it's going to take to get through this whole queue of people who are waiting, and then they'll start taking those applications. And so this is exactly why you may want to consider looking at another bank. So maybe you already have a great relationship with Chase, or you have you're banking with Wells Fargo or Bank of America or any of those large banks. But all those banks, because they're so big and they have such large exposure, it's kind of the go-to bank that everyone's already going to go to. They already say, hey, you know what? I have a relationship with these banks. Let me see my application. And then they get in line millions of people long. So you may want to look at some of the smaller banks, some of those other banks that maybe you wouldn't have even thought about. When you travel around from town to town, if you go to a different town and you see these kind of small banks and you try to think, like, who goes to any of these banks? these are the banks that may actually be the best ones to serve you for this PPP loan process. I know that some of the banks have said when I called around that they are actually still going to be accepting applications as soon as they see that the funding has become available, as soon as SBA is starting to accept the applications. And they don't have those huge queues. They don't have the millions of people applying to them because they serve just small kind of local communities, and they don't really usually oftentimes have an online process or a digital process to get through it. So the downside to it is you may actually have to go in, you might have to talk to somebody, you might have to fill out some paperwork, but the upside is they might actually be able to get you through that process. Their queues may not be that long, and they may be able to actually get you through the whole process and get you funded ahead of some of those big banks who are not even taking people to apply yet. Additionally, the other important side of this is that in this round of funding, the government, the federal government, set aside $30 billion for just these types of banks to be biased towards some of these smaller banks who help out those community members who maybe either didn't have a chance or didn't have a relationship with their big bank, or maybe are unbanked. And so that $30 billion is specifically allotted for individuals who work with those small banks. So even if you already have a relationship with a big bank and you weren't able to get that application submitted, it never hurts to have that backup lender, one of those small banks, to be able to apply. Now, I'll put a link in below of the list of all the banks that are currently approved lenders with the SBA. And all you got to do, kind of look through it and see whichever one's closest to you, reach out to them and see what their processes is. See if they're going to be accepting those applications and see if they can help you get through that whole process. So again, the update today, real quick, just that there is going to be more money for the PPP. Also, those large banks that maybe are your kind of go-to banks probably have a huge line, and if you haven't applied for them, you definitely should still see if you can apply with them. But if they're not accepting applications like my bank, like Chase, then there's no problem. There's nothing that hurts in going looking at some of those smaller banks who may be accepting. They might be willing to help you out, and a lot of the funds are designed to specifically go through those small banks. So that's the update for today. And if you like the information that we're giving out, you find it useful, please don't forget to like and subscribe, or share any comments below, or anything that any questions that you may have, so we can answer them. Additionally, this is not our main source of business. Our main thing that we do is health insurance, and I know a lot of folks are thinking about how to make their business run and to get that extra money right now. But if you do have any questions about health insurance, or you have concerns about your health insurance, or even what your options are, please feel free to reach out to us for that, or look at some of our other videos that cover some of the healthcare issues, and we'll have more that are coming out in the future to review deductibles and co-insurance and all that kind of stuff. So other than that, this is Michael, and I'm with California, and I'm wishing you a happy, healthy day.